Happy Saturday morning, folks. Back at it again. Left off on this figure here yesterday, last night. And we'd given this guy the Nuln oil treatment. So we're going to go in there and clean up his helmet and brighten it up. And then we'll move on to our next hand gunner. Hungarian hand gunner. So all we're going to do is we took the darkest metallic shade I have. See if I can get this closer here. And I'll show you what it is. I have several. I keep saying shade. Maybe I should say color. I don't know. That's not what I do for a living, is color theory or any of that stuff. I may be calling these all different things all the time, but this particular color that I'm using is Lead Belcher. So I want to get it darker than this. So the only way to do that is to add something to this, or add Nuln oil, and that darken this a shade. Okay. Mr. Finland, how are you? Greetings. Nice to catch a live show after a long while. Damn time zone differences. Yes, I wish we could all be on the same time zone. Good afternoon to you. It's probably like, what, 1 o'clock or something like that out there? Okay. So we're going to come in here. Thanks for stopping by. That's the problem with this wet palette, is the water percolates up, or it creates moisture and it separates the color. So it's not a big deal. But sometimes you gotta kind of remix them. It takes a while for that to happen. Same thing happened with white over here. Just one of those things. All right, and we're just going to hit the highlights here. Now, if you guys have been seeing me use this stuff here, this is the airbrush thinner from Vallejo. I'm using this instead of where I would use water, and it makes a huge difference. It just behaves a lot better with this. It's almost like you're thinning the paint down, but you're not, it's not, the pigments aren't separating. It works really well. So the airbrush thinner is expensive. It's about $20 US, but it lasts forever if you use it this way. So we're just going to hit the highlights. We're going to leave some of this darkness in the folds, so to speak, of the helmet. And you can also do the same thing and use the next shade up. I don't really need to do that, but I am going to do it just to show you guys. And the next shade up, I believe, is called Iron Breaker. Let's see if I can find it. I got all kinds of stuff on my table. Turning into everybody else that has a cluttered workspace. It's not that cluttered, but it's cluttered for me. And then we're just going to do the same thing. Let's thin this a little bit so we got some more. It goes on smoother. It's more lubricated. That's what it seems like when you're painting with it. It's not necessarily thin down. And the thing is that if this was water, every time I would dip this brush in here, the paint would alter the color of this. For whatever reason this is, the paint still sticks to. I mean, there's some flakes in here, but maybe 4. I don't know, it just stays together. If I was using water, I put the metallics in there. There'd be metallic flakes all over it. So I don't know. This stuff's pretty magic. This airbrush thinner. I don't know that I saw somebody do that. I think I decided on a whim. I had this airbrush thinner because I was going to do some airbrushing, and oh, I know what it was. It was somebody when I transferred over this paint onto the when I transferred over the Games Workshop paint into this, which I'm not going to do again, by the way. This was kind of a huge waste of time, but because the whole point of me doing it is to create a container that wasn't as messy as the original one like this, and that other thing's just as messy. So, but it did help me discover the airbrush thinner. I ended up I used it on one miniature instead of the water, and I was really impressed. So there you have it. Now he's going to get set off to the side, and then we have a total of 8 figures like this, 4 of them of one pose, so 3 other figures with the same pose, and then 4 of the other ones. So just like I did all of my other Hungarians, I'm going to be doing all of the poses that are exactly like this one. That helps me keep them so that they're not the same. I'll consciously make sure I paint them the same. So that's this guy. I'm going to have him sit off to the side. Okay, now let's rinse all this metallic stuff out of here. All right. Marcin, hello. Yes, afternoon. Awesome. Yeah, one of those books you sent me, I read last night off and on. I mean, I read yesterday off and on, so I got through it. Actually, I got to go back and read the battles. I read the German and the Russian one, 1941. I had one of those. You sent me the one on the Polish Knights. I have both of the Polish books. I have both of the Polish books. There are 2, but I don't have any of the World War II ones. So all that stuff came out after I was out of World War II. But I did read the 41 soldier one between the Soviets and the Germans. I need to sit down and read the one about the battle with all the charts and all that kind of stuff. So there's just so much stuff that's available on the internet for World War II stuff that wasn't in 20 years ago. So I don't know if you guys saw my unboxing that I did of vehicles that I did last weekend. All my 20mm scale World War II vehicles that I have. I had more, not to brag. It's not really a brag. It just shows, all the stuff that we've bought and not done diddly with, which is kind of bothers me. What's wasteful. So I'm gonna try to make it right and get some of these things done. But in the process of going through everything, I came across, and I had bought it by accident. I wanted a lot of these things, I got them because they were on sale on eBay way back when, I suspect, or they were really cheap, or they were at a show. But there's this MMS kit that I have of a Panzer IIIF. And when I bought it, I thought I was going to get a short 50mm gun, because the F was the first one to have a 50mm gun. Well, this one I ended up getting had a 37. And when they mounted a 37, it had a double coax MG34, which is kind of unusual. When they got upgunned to the 50, they just went back down to one standard coax MG34. But anyhow, so I got this. When I got the kit, I was like disappointed that it had a 37mm gun, because I'm like, well, they didn't use them in Russia. So I'm looking around, and apparently I went to one website that had, I did a search on, I was reading about the Battle of Dubno, which supposedly now is, I think the jury's still out, but it may actually be the largest tank engagement of the Second World War, or I guess in that case would be of all time, bigger than Kursk. But anyhow, so I'm reading about it, and one of the units that was there was the 11th Panzer, the Ghost Division, and this guy had made this video where he describes all of the stuff, and he said that he listed the composition of the 11th Panzer Division, and he said that there was this many Panzer IVs, this many Panzer IIIs, this many tanks armed with a 37 millimeter gun, Czech 38s, and Panzer IIIs. So I'm like, okay, well, how many 37 millimeter armed Panzer IIIs were in the 11th Panzer? So I did a search on the Czech 38s, and there were other units that were listed in this chart, and I checked it. Apparently, there was no Czech 38s because they usually were organized by Panzer Division. Like the sixth and the seventh definitely had Czech tanks, but there was no Czech tanks that were in the 11th. So that means those 23 or 32 or 33 or something like that number of tanks that were 37 millimeter armed would have all been Panzer IIIs. So now I know that's one of the units I should paint my Panzer III F as. So yeah, and I have a skirmish campaigns book that I really like, the skirmish campaign stuff, and where is it? It's the Into the Ukraine book. Where is it? I have it right here. Yeah, Into the Ukraine. Yeah, and one of the scenarios has the 11th Panzer in it, and it has, well, multiple scenarios have Panzer. This one, for instance, in the order of battle, says 4 Panzer III Gs. Well, I could just easily replace one of them as a Panzer III F with a 37. So, pretty cool. Anyhow, I don't know if I'll be doing any of those scenarios. They're kind of tank heavy. I mean, you have this. I like skirmish gaming, and this has a platoon headquarters for the Germans, and 2 motorized infantry squads, but then 4 tanks. So you've got 20 guys, 25 men, and 4 tanks. That's pretty tank heavy for a skirmish game. But I don't know. I'd like to play some of these things, and I've had them here for a while, these scenarios. But that was cool that some guy had made a video and kind of, at least, I mean, he may be wrong, but at least it gives me the inspiration of, just like when you're painting ancients and medievals, you find all the information that you have and you make your best effort to get it right. And if it's wrong, then, well, then, what are you going to do? But that was pretty cool that he did that. So whenever we get all the Germans done, I'm probably going to pick up a pack of the Plastic Soldier Company Panzer IIIs. They're Panzer IIIs. You can make G's or H's out of them, and they come in 3 packs, I think. So I'll buy a pack of 3, make the other 3 G's, and then the F can ride with them. And there's my 4 tanks for that scenario. Bam! Look at that. Awesome. Nice to get to use that out of Panzer III. No miniature is ever wasted time on your space. Yeah, I wanted to. I don't really like to war game France, and it's kind of a shame because the French tanks are really cool. I got nothing against the French, don't get me wrong, but the French tanks are really cool. The problem with them is I really don't like. The campaign didn't last long enough. Sorry. And I really don't like the German equipment that of that time period, because I don't like the German tanks without the little stowage compartment in the back of the turret. It looks really weird. Just like I don't like German tank crews wearing those berets. It just looks weird. Just doesn't look right. So this is what we're going to do as jacket color. I don't know if it'll work, but we'll give it a shot. We need to mix it up a little bit. So yeah, there's a wealth of information out there now. So, and that one actually has BT7. So I already have, it's got 3 BT7s in the core force for the other guys. I've got one painted. I could pick up a pack of those two. Who is it? Pegasus that makes them in double packs. See, I'm already thinking of other things to buy after I get all my stuff done, but I'm not going to allow myself to buy more stuff until all this stuff is done. So that's probably a couple years away. But it's fun to talk. It's fun to talk about it. There's not any super deals on them either. So I'm not tempted to really go out and buy things because they're really inexpensive. Right now, the shipping is just out of control. I'm sure it is for you guys in Europe as well, but the cost of shipping is crazy. Some guy was selling some kits for like $4 a piece, which is really, really inexpensive. But by the time you add the shipping, it's no incentive for me to buy them, you know. So, oh well, that's never going to come down. I mean, shipping only goes up. And I don't mind paying for it if it's something that I need, but not just because. I remember the one time I needed an elephant for my Ptolemaic army, and I wanted to get an African forest elephant, and they have a particular look to them. So I saw that there was a company called, it was the old, now it's called, they have a really long-winded name now, but it used to be Donington in the UK. And they make a forest elephant for the Ptolemaics with the tower and everything that you can see in illustrations. I almost said pictures, but that's not accurate. Illustrations. And it was relatively inexpensive because the conversion rate between euros, between pound sterling and U.S. dollars is not significant of a difference. And even U.S. dollars and euros, that's not a big. The problem is the shipping. And for whatever reason, Donington, we're just going to call them Donington. I don't know what they're called now. Ancient and medieval provide. They have a really long-winded name. I like their stuff, but their shipping isn't the cheapest from the UK. And I remember I went ahead and ordered this Seleucid elephant as well that they make. So both elephants were like, together they may have been 15 pounds. And it was like 15 pounds shipping. So I paid a lot of money for those two elephants. But I did paint one of them, finish it. I do have the Seleucids to do. Just several people that I know have that army now. So I've lost incentive to build it. But maybe I'll get around to doing them one day. But I'd rather focus on an army other people that I have around me do not have. So, because the reality is I'm not going to be able to get to everything ever in my life. So I need to kind of pick and choose what it's going to be. I was actually surprised how many decal sets there were in 1/72nd scale for Finland, for captured vehicles. There's like 3 or 4 floating around there, but I have no plans to do finished vehicles. That's I don't want to get into that theater. I know somebody makes infantry figures in 20 millimeter for the Finns, but I guess I could probably just use like German mountain troops and probably call it a day. I don't know. I can't get into everything, so. Shipping is pricey from UK after the Brexit. We have to go through more hoops to get stuff to the country. I'm looking for alternative stores from Germany, etc., more convenient for me. You know, I'm not really in the know, but it seems to me that maybe the reason it's so much more expensive is because the fact that that was done gave the government forces an opportunity to reevaluate all of those things and find a way to tax it, something that should have always been taxed. Maybe I'm wrong, but it sure seems that way. And the reason I say that because the shipping, and I'm going to say the last 5 years, the shipping from the U.S. to the U.K. or from I don't send things out, so getting things from the U.K. didn't cost that much more shipping than it did from the U.S. Not significantly more, but it did from the European countries. But if Britain was part of the Eurozone, then why was it cheap from England and expensive from Europe? Now it's expensive from both. So it almost seems like when Brexit happened, maybe it was that they had to find other revenue sources. And they're like, oh, well, we haven't been adding these taxes into stuff that we were sending to the US all along. We need to add those in now. Now, I'm not in the know. It just seems like maybe that's the reason why, because, you know, it's, I don't know. But regardless, I'm fine with shipping being expensive as long as you know beforehand what it's going to cost before you hit the pay button. As long as you're upfront, it is what it is, and you can kind of make a decision whether or not that's the right thing for you. But Australian Greg, isn't time for you to bed? Just working on my Hungarians. Working on my Hungarians so I can get these guys done so we can think about what the next army is going to be. I'm not giving it much thought. If I think about it now, I'll just change my mind 4 times before I make the next army. So it's better not to think about it. It's all good. I'm sure I'll make the right decision when I make that decision. Got to do a theme night with the Irish before St. Patrick's Day. Got a couple weeks to make that happen. We'll see. The ass kicking Irish. A lot of it depends on who they're fighting. Like, I keep bringing up that my nemesis army is the Numidians. Well, of course, they're my nemesis. Every time they pull out, odds are I'm going to lose. But I'm not using them in open tournaments. It's not like my Hungarian showed up and the other guy picked Numidians. I mean, we're trying to set up games that are fair, balanced. I mean, unless we're playing through somebody's enemies, we try to kind of pick games that would either side could win. So, yeah, the Numidians aren't beating the shit out of the really powerful armies. So, but still, that's still my nemesis army. Just like my Armenians do really, really well, but they're not fighting in open tournaments. They're fighting wimp wars or that kind of stuff. So it's all relative. You know, I mentioned the other day, the type of games we play the least are like opens. We don't usually play, hey, bring your biggest and baddest, and I'll bring my biggest and baddest, and we don't do those. And it's probably okay that we don't do them because that's what everybody else does. That's what you guys see at home, you know. Dirk, good morning from, well, good afternoon, or maybe it's even tomorrow at your side of the world. You've been working on next element of Three Knight for Feudal, just one more element, and the General's one. I guess I need to get to work on something for you. Maybe I'll do that. I may have an interruption today with actual humans, and maybe I'll finish the second half that I need to do of that project. It was, make sure you print that on a really good printer though, because it's going to be, so that's what I did with this Hungarian flag. The Hungarian flag that I did, I got them right here. So let me show you which one I'm talking about. It's this banner I made out of, I recolored. It's this one. And I printed this up with a laser printer. This one right here. This one's straight from the internet. Some guy did a really good job with this. Well, I assume it's a guy. It might be a woman. That's okay. This one right here. It ended up printing out not that great. There's all kinds of other depth of colors that were there that aren't apparent. That I just kind of wasted my time. So I may need to start doing that with a little bit more stronger difference between the two colors so that it all pops out a little bit more. But, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. But I can't do better than a laser printer. So if it doesn't come up on the laser printer, then I don't know what it can do. So I did one of those for Joe. If you look at the video, the thumbnail image of I believe it's called "An Evening with the Eastern Franks." If you look at the bottom right hand corner, the little flag that I made for his Eastern Franks is there. That's the actual image of it. But when he printed it out, you can't see most of those subtle tones of the yellow, but I know they're there. But we will see. We'll see if we can get on that. John Peter, another guy that does not sleep like me. Excellent. That's what I like about you. My next army will be sea peoples. I know the biblical armies are not Tony's favorites. They're not. But I'd like to know from the Hive who makes the best sea peoples figures in 15 millimeter. Okay. Who makes them? Lots of people do. Essex, Old Glory. Essex, Old Glory. I think just about everybody makes sea people. I bet Museum makes them too. You know me, I'd use a mix. You can mix just about all figures except the worst mix I could think of is like, maybe since Zyston doesn't make any, but something like Magister Militum, which happen to be really thin. They don't have a lot of heft. And like Museum sometimes has figures that are very hefty. You never know. It's a mixed bag with them, which is really strange because I understand that it's all the same sculptor, which is the owner, which is actually kind of cool. I think it's cool that the owner is the sculptor. Talk about having a vested interest in your own business. Dave, I don't know what his last name is, but I used to get really good service from them. But most of their stuff is only one pose, so unless that's what you're looking for, you probably need to maybe outsource to different types of figures if that's the case. Who else? Nobody comes to mind that makes really spectacular sea people figures. Like if somebody says, what I mean by spectacular, like if somebody says, hey, I want to do a Burgundian Ordnance army, like right off the bat. Okay, Legio and Merlaton, do those two. Somebody stands to mind and make really good figures for somebody. But the sea peoples really aren't standing out. Yeah, I can't get into book one. I can't get into book one. There's many reasons, but I should do a book one army because most of them would fall into the non-busy type of look. So I'd have all these peasant-looking guys, and I could use all kinds of different shades of linen and make them look interesting when they're not. And I do enjoy painting that way. But but I haven't done so. I don't even delve in a book too much. It's the whole flag thing, you know. I love flags and heraldry and different stuff. When you got guys that all are barefoot and running around, it's not. I don't get that excited about it. And like a New Kingdom Egyptian army would be fun to paint, but everybody has one, so there's no incentive for me to do that. And I don't already have the figures. I'm very resistant to buying more figures. I might buy more figures for something that I already have just to kind of complement, but just starting something from scratch, I'm kind of, I don't want to say I'm done, but I'm done. Now, with that said, that doesn't really mean anything because I have just about most figures. So it basically leaves most of book 3 and 4 on the table for me to do, but I don't want to sit there and buy something from scratch. I don't want to go and, oh, they have these new Ottoman Turks. Let me buy. No, I'm done with the Ottoman Turks. I can add more stands with the figures that I have, you know. And yes, the new ones look better, but at some point you need to be happy with what you have. You can't just be keeping up with the Joneses. So, or as I like to say, throwing money at the problem. But Sea Peoples, I don't know who makes them. I know that the Old Glory one, Old Glory makes them, and I know they have figure variety in their figures. Now, some people love Old Glory. I don't know anybody that loves Old Glory. I probably like them more than anybody else that I know. But but yeah, they do make them. I like them because they have figure variety, and some of their faces sometimes get a little bug-eyed for my taste, but I like them. They paint up well. They have sharp. Most of their figures have sharper detail than say Essex, but my biggest problem with Essex is sometimes their compound is kind of soft. So their spears will bend easier than I would like them to, but you know, these guys are Essex and they're great. These are great figures. So that's it. Couldn't be more helpful. Maybe somebody else give you some other suggestions. Let's see. As you mentioned, sleep beckons. Beware, sleep beckons. Okay, we'll have happy Vegemite dreams. What would be the U.S. equivalent of Vegemite? Would that be like that cheese spread stuff? Nobody in the U.S. has that, eats that. Maybe in the 70s when there weren't that many choices, but you know what I'm talking about. That cheese that comes in a tube. God, oof. I was back when people eat bologna. Ugh. And Kool-Aid. That makes spam seem like a delicacy. Okay. I have to go. Stuff to do and places to avoid. Have a good one. Look out. Look out for the Russians. They're right next door. All right. Let's yeah, I guess I could bring this full force onto this. Yeah. How do the Finns get new tanks? Taunt the Russians to invade and they capture them. Somebody makes fins in 20 millimeter. I'm not sure who it is. Might have been maybe CP models or somebody. Somebody makes them. I said you could probably use German mountain troops. Or something like that. Call it a day. I get some highlighting on this guy. This will make it a little bit less yellow. But doing the similar figures at the same time forces me to be conscious about not making everybody look the same. I mean, unless that's the look you want. I happen to not want that. These kind of all showed up with whatever. I just think that, oh, you want to serve in the war wagons, you need to bring your padded jacket that you have with you. And everybody had a different colored one. Next one will be some form of gray. So, maybe two of them can have a similar color, but all right, let's bring this up one more. All right, what color dicky is this guy going to have around his neck? Let's give him a white one. And let's mix that white one with brown. Certainly we have some brown out here already that we can use. Let's do that. Let's see. Let's go over to this area. Yeah, this is getting kind of dry. Any of this alive out here? Let's see. We don't need much. Yeah, there's enough of this that we can get that to happen. Not trying to be cheap, just this color's already here, so it saves me some time. And there's probably not enough in there to make something happen. All right, we'll pick a brown. Stuff to do and places to avoid. That sounds like what the rest of my day is going to be like. Good old chocolate brown. All right, let's get our white over here. And I actually don't care if this doesn't cover really well, because we're going to build it up on different colors on here. So it's okay if I still have some of this black showing through. I'm actually surprised that this paint is as durable as it is, considering how thin I paint it. Almost like thick watercolors. I've been doing it this way for a long time, so I don't think I'm going to change. I did the vehicles the same way too, at least the base color. I just decided it's not worth my time to develop the skills and have to clean and so forth to get an airbrush just to do the modulation, as they like to call it, so that I can modulate using a paintbrush and then do the rest of the process. So that's new anyways. That wasn't around 20 years ago. I am looking forward to doing some buildings and stuff like that. I got a few, not a whole lot, but I have a couple of city blocks and like a farm complex. I didn't pull those out. That's another video. It's those old resin kits that were made by, I want to say, Queen's Hussars, and they're really really heavy. But that's kind of overwhelming. I don't want to start on that. So unfortunately, none of them are for Russia, and that's really the direction I'd rather go in. But maybe we'll do. Well, we'll see where it takes us. We got Sherman's coming up. I like to talk about gaming it, but if I don't get around to gaming it, it's not the end of the world. I just want to paint some of this stuff that I've had for a long time. Can leave all the gaming. I'm getting plenty of gaming out of the ancients and medievals, so it's going to be really hard to find something that's has the kind of detail I want for World War II and yet be playable at any level. So all right, let's just use straight white now. Even something as playable as Gaslands, we hadn't played it in over a year. It's just difficult to. I don't want to sit there and read rules, you know? That's my one of those things that, some people think, well, I'm too old for that. I'm too old to like learn new rules. I'm not interested in that. Some people are like, I'm too old to paint or I can't see well. Nah, I'm not giving that up. No, I like this part. It takes forever, but I like this part. Even more that we got a little thing going with the show, and you guys keeping me motivated to keep going forward. So this is my therapy. Okay, I think we're about good with that. Focus, damn it. Okay, let's do some hands. Let's give this guy some hands. Why do I have the why do I have this down here? Loud one. I went to the doctor recently and they said, "Have you had any arthritis?" I'm like, "Nope. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need the shakes. I don't need arthritis. We got too many things to do to be messing with that crap." Actually, I'm gonna do the firearm first before the hands. See if we can get through the firearm and the hands before I've got to quit. That's maybe a little bit ambitious, but in about 10 minutes I got to go wake up the daughter, and then I'll have another last 15 before we gotta sign off. Unfortunately, damn it, man. Mahogany is what we're using. Mahogany. I could probably stand to use a new one of these. I need to go in and make sure. I think this is the last weekend that Hobby Lobby is honoring their 40% off coupon. But last time I went there, I didn't even buy anything. I'm like, nah, I wouldn't mind having that, but I don't want to pay money for it. You know, it's a good feeling to feel like you don't need anything. It's really nice. So I'm not just going to spend money just to spend money. But they do carry Vallejo. But it's 40% off one item, so usually you go in there and you come out with something. And I think they at the end of February, I read that they're stopping that policy. They're gonna discount their items more. So what was happening is we probably had a lot of people just using that 40% off coupon and not buying other things, which is the whole point in having it. You don't make any money on the one item, but you will on something else that they buy. So, hey, people got to meet their bills. I get it. For those of you that are not in the US, Hobby Lobby is the only hobby store that we have here in town. It's kind of a chain, kind of like a craft store, has a little bit of everything in there, and they do carry the only thing really that they carry for that I would find useful was they have brushes and they have got Vallejo paint and other things that I don't have to mail order. So, but they're kind of a puritanical Christian store, so they're not open on Sundays. So you got to plan your hobby expenses. And It's okay. People need a day off. Okay, Cricketer French, didn't even know you were there. Silent but deadly. Have a good day. Thanks for stopping. Okay, I don't know why it unconnected. All of a sudden I look up and it says reconnecting. Yeah. Imagine what they do to the controversial set channels. That's happened a couple times, probably not that often, maybe once every 10 times. So, whatever it is, it's not very frequent. All right, maybe bring this up a little bit more. Oh, wrong one. Having similar colors. That's the flesh color. We'll get to that. We'll get to that next. My brush was excited to put some flesh on this figure. Okay, relax there, pal. Okay, now let's go ahead and what time is it? 5 more minutes. All right, we're gonna put the metal parts on this gun, and then we're gonna go wake up the daughter. Then we'll come back and do the flesh, or give her the 20-minute warning is more like it, because she'll still be in bed. Does the synchronized swimming on Saturday, so she's got to get out there early. That's what I forgot to do on this figure. Whoop. Here we go. There's almost like a touch hole or something back here. It should also be that type of a color. Kind of the signal we have right now. Still 5G, but only a couple of bars. I wonder what happened. I wonder if something's down. I notoriously have superb signal here at home. Maximum bars. I had maximum bars in 4G. And then when I got a 5G phone, maximum bars in 5G. So it's ridiculously fast here. But, oh, I forgot the belt buckle. Let's go ahead and knock that out since that's also of a metallic disposition. And the rest of it is like brass colored. We're going to do a couple things here. Since I got to go over there anyways, I'm going to go ahead and re-wet this palette. I'm not going to change the paper because there's enough empty space here, but we're going to go ahead and re-wet the palette and go wake up the daughter. And I'll be back in about less than 5 minutes. And let's see what will be. I need to get a little sign here, like Tony's going to be back. We'll have you look at this little bunker that I haven't worked on in 20 years. I'll be right back, folks. Okay. People showed up when I'm not here. I like it. Okay, so we've just re-wetted this. And as you can see, this is holding about as much water as I can have it. Let's see, I don't know if you can see on here, but it's pretty darn wet. Okay. I try to show you different point of view. Okay, I don't know what that's regarding to, but okay. He's gone. Yes, I'm back. Okay. Right, onto flesh. You guys know the drill. You know the flesh drill. Let's get on it. A little bit of black. A little bit of this. You know the Saturday morning drill. I got another 17 minutes or so in me, and then I've got to shut down for the end of this. So the swimming schedule that she has is year-round, so unless she's sick or they've canceled the event, this is pretty much standard fare on Saturday. Or unless we're traveling, which doesn't really happen anymore as often. Only around the holidays. Not really taking weekend trips to Orlando. Okay, so we've got the basic color of that on there. And let's add a little bit more of this. So we'll have something on Monday. You guys probably won't see it until Tuesday, just because that's just how long it takes to. It's a long process between the getting the video out and doing it. It's not necessarily difficult. It's just time consuming, and even after I've done my part, the YouTube takes a while to process it. So even with one of these videos, if you don't catch it live, it's not fully processed for, I don't know, half a day, maybe even a whole day, 8 hours or something like that. It's kind of a pain in the ass, or not really apparent. I mean, I'm used to it now, but that's not really apparent if you're on the outside and aren't aware of the whole YouTube thing. But it does get done on its own. I don't have to do anything to it, so just a matter of it taking time to process the video. Guess I shouldn't complain too much. It is free. So it's just frustrating as somebody who makes something. As soon as I have it made, I want people to see it. Otherwise, why did I jump through a flaming hoop to get it done? I'm not a big fan of, say, buying something for someone and then having to wait 6 months to have them open it. That's not my that's not what I like to do. So Okay, this has a little tuft. I don't know if it's actually the brush or not, but it has a little tuft. Yeah, time to perform some surgery. We're gonna get rid of that. I think that did it. We can't have that. Damn Chinese brushes. Shouldn't say Chinese brushes, because they were in Taiwan, they'd be fine. Damn communist brushes. I'm fine with them being made in China. Just don't like what China is. We'll use all these and then we're going to find another source for this stuff. Unfortunately, it's going to be a while before I get through them all, so. All right. And then we're probably going to add a little bit of white to this to do the rest of this stuff. Some of these fingers you kind of have to paint in yourself. They don't exist sometimes on some of these figures, so you just need to, if you want them there, you need to add them in yourself. Okay, how does this guy look compared to him? That's probably just fine. Focus, damn it. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. All right, where to next? We have a belt to do. What color belt did we do on this other guy? I really like brown one. We're going to head and use this flesh tone here. This, I guess it's called red leather. And we'll use this as the color of the belt. And scabbard as well. All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this color that we made, and we're not going to add any more of this. We're just going to go ahead and lighten it up with white from here at this point. So we're just going to take some white and add that in there. This airbrush thinner also helps to keep the brushes moist so that the paint's not drying on it, which will help keep its shape. It seems to be that it does that. I could be wrong, but you know, perception is sometimes reality. So that's what it seems like to me. All right, that's done. Come on. There we go. So that's the color that we got, even though we used this red leather to get there. So you can do all kinds of subtle little shades by just starting the highlight process at different parts of the color. So you can get lots of other little colors out of the same one. So that's today's lesson. Big quiz tomorrow at 5 a.m. Just showing you guys stuff that I've learned. Maybe you'll find use to it. Maybe you'll take that and then do something different with it. So nice. Aha! Almost hit the floor. Wouldn't have been a big deal, but don't want to encourage that kind of activity. It was always fumbles. Okay. We got this little pouch to put on him and the boots, and he's pretty much done. We've got this little post up here to do. Let's go ahead and knock the little post out. Where's the color that we used for the post? Here it is. This is the one we used last night. All right, and boots. We did dark brown on this one. I'm going to be lazy and use the same color boots that I have, that I just used this brown on. Sometimes you just feel like being lazy. One thing I need to do before I stop is put the Nuln Oil on him, because I'm going to have to wait for that to dry. So if I come back to this figure, I want to make sure that that step is done, so that, you know what, I don't have much time. So I'm going to go ahead and do the Nuln Oil. We can come back to the boots at a later date. But we do need the Nuln Oil to dry before I can proceed to the highlighting and helmet stage. There's not much left on this guy, and this will be our second figure done. So 6 more to go. Okay, there you have it. Okay, so we're going to take a little break here. I don't know if I'll be back on today. I'd like to think that I am, but we got to go take care of things that we got to take care of. So, all right, folks, now we're in 19 minutes. Wish it was longer, but we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Happy painting. Enjoy your Saturday. And until next time, bye-bye.